Hi everyone, Mike White here. Welcome to this week's blog post. The numbers out, the data is coming through clearly. Uh, this year's activity levels, the total number of purchases and refinances are down. Combined mortgage business through the first half of the year is down, a little over 20%, which is certainly a challenge. And for many, the pain can be real, and I understand that. Uh, they're not only individual loan officers are feeling the pain, but branches and entire companies share this. And again, it's also depending upon where you are, the market that you're in. There are certain areas that are feeling the pressure and the pain a lot more than others, and for completely different reasons. Some places are, areas where there's a net loss of people in the area. There, people are moving out faster than people are moving in, and that can create some issues with people feeling comfortable selling at that point or having to sell and move someplace else. And there's also areas that are net gainers where there are more people moving in, and that puts even more stress on a market where inventory is limited, and it can become even more challenging. But my thoughts on that are, widely varying. There's a lot of reasons for this, and it's terrible because I know a lot of people who have branches have shut down, or companies that have either merged or gone out of business, or people who have been laid off who are really, really good people, especially in the support staff area, because originators, if originators are any good at all, it's easy for them to find a landing spot because they have a track record of production, and they do a certain amount of business, and they have a certain value. They may not get paid the way they want, or they may not get the tools or the support that they thought they deserved, but there's still a place for them to work. As far as LOAs and processors and closers and assistants and things like that, it can be more challenging with the lack of volume. And it really is, a shame, because a lot of these people, especially at this stage, because this is not new. We've been dealing with this market for, coming up on a year, where rates started to rise and volume started to decline. And, and it's not helping that, we can all see economic data that points to the fact that inflation is coming under control and heading downward on a steady pace. And the Fed keeps looking at old information. We talked about this last week, that is going to lead them to raise interest rates again next week. And I don't believe it's necessary. I believe that the rate hikes that are already in place are more than sufficient to get to where they need to go. I think further rate hikes are only going to exacerbate a bad situation. I don't think they're forward thinking enough as to, their next Fed meeting is in September. They're going to have a whole bunch more data to look at before then, as well as student loan repayment. And that's another thing that they're not looking at, and I don't know why. It's a big topic of conversation about student debt forgiveness. And one of the arguments made for the student debt forgiveness is, what's going to happen to the economy if all that money comes out of the economy, that those people, instead of paying student loans, have been spending money buying other things. What's the economy going to look like? What kind of stress is it going to put on them if those payments now have to go to repay student loans? It's a threat to the economy. Well, if it's a threat to the economy and you don't want to have a recession, why do you keep raising rates, and why do you start talking about the need to eliminate student loan debt? It just, again, when things don't make sense, the markets don't like it. And when markets don't like it, rates don't respond favorably. We all know that I've talked about, for at least the last 6 months, that my estimation was, based upon the data I was looking at, we were going to see a favorable series of events coming into the summer. And I had fully anticipated rates with a slow and steady march downward, into the fives. And I've said that repeatedly, thought that was going to happen. And it hasn't, for any number of reasons, going forward, partially because, I'm making my value judgments based upon real-time data, and the Federal Reserve and the federal government are looking at data that's 90 to 180 days old and picking and choosing the spots that they want to pick and choose. And that's their right, because you can't fight the Fed. But the point is the pain that all of this causes us is very real. But I don't think the market is as rate sensitive as it once was. I think this past year has proven that for rates to have moved from 2 and 3% to 6-7%, and for us to only be off 20% or so in volume, speaks a lot to the fact that people still want to own where they live. People are still buying property. The opportunities out there for people to sell and get what they want now that COVID is over, and they're making life adjustments based upon the new reality of what they're doing. And I think it's really important to know that, we're going to see some bumps in the road as we go, but I still believe that interest rates are going to march, slow and steady toward the fives again by the end of the year. I still believe that. Again, been wrong before and I'll be wrong again, but I still believe that that's where we're going. But the point that I want to bring up today is all of this pain in certain areas of the market are also potential opportunities for those of us who have worked and continue to work and have diversified where our business comes from. And I'll be the first one to tell you, while the markets are off this much, there are people who are having really good years. There are people who are doing really well. There are businesses that are flourishing because they saw the writing on the wall last fall. They did what they needed to do to be prepared for what was coming up. And they hadn't continued to plow money into things, hoping that the market was going to get better. And so they're in a much better position moving forward. To those people who are having success, those people who are doing well, now is a really good time to look across the market. I'm doing it with one of my customers now. We're retooling the entire team because there are really good people who are available who, you can get for a hell of a lot less than they were making even a year ago, simply because a job is better than no job. And they're willing to, reduce their demands to get into a situation where we can give them a stable base and work a lot of what their income is going to be derived on is on actual outcomes, and they can grow as that business goes. They're willing to do that now because many people who were making, solid six-figure incomes, those opportunities, nobody's hiring there. And so they're understanding of what it is, and they're willing to come in and share the burden of the marketplace and say, I'm willing to take this ride with you. We can do the work. We can be really good. Because here's the other thing is, as the 1Z, 2Z, 3Z loan officers get out of the business because they no longer have any business, or as the big teams disband, there's a lot less competition individually for those loans. Well, it may be brutal right now on social media and people, cutting rates. A lot of that's already happened where they cut their fees, they cut their money to the point where they were making next to nothing on loans just to do some volume. That's not sustainable. Everybody's got to make money on a deal. There's, again, how much we can discuss, but at some point you can't lose money on every deal and make it up in volume. So those people, realizing that they can't make the money the way they used to, are deciding to do other things, or taking their money and being done, or in many cases, as I've seen, retire. Because we do know that the mortgage side of the equation has been, on average age, the average age has been older. And a lot of these people made a boatload of money the last few years, and they got enough and they're done. So that opens up the door to pick up market share. It opens up the door to build some new relationships. And I think it's really important to understand that you've got to look at where you are and plot your course and look at what's happening in this marketplace and take advantage of it. There are positives, even though that their pain out there is real. And even though a lot of people are going through significant challenges in this country, the greatest fortunes ever made were made in times of decline, because that's when you can get in and grow your market share and grow your business, because other people, it becomes not sustainable. And for that, you can be one of the fewer players left standing. It's happened before, it'll happen again. It's not even the first time this has happened in the mortgage business in the last 20 years. Like we go back to 2008 through 2012 to remember. So we're only, 10, 15 years ago, we've gone through the same sort of a contraction. So the reality of this is, yes, the pain can be real, but there are opportunities to be had. If you have questions about the strategies and the things you can do to take advantage of those opportunities, Mike at imtcoaching.com. We'll talk to you again real soon. Take care.